the global Jewish community, parts of which were hit disproportionately hard by the coronavirus, and beyond that, the global community itself, as entire nations must now plan for a future in which they have to make some hard choices, especially as they deal with a post-pandemic international recession or maybe even depression. Well, someone who has thought hard about these questions, and he's written about them in recent weeks, is Gideon Greenstein, founder of the Reut Group, a nonpartisan, not-for-profit research strategy and leadership development organization. And he joins us now on I-24 News. And Giddy, thanks for being here. Let's start with something you have just written about in just the last couple of weeks, the global Jewish community. We know about a disproportionate death toll in some places, in Europe, in the United States. But you see some really major, maybe lasting impact on that community from this pandemic.
Correct, and thank you very much for having me. Our team in Israel, led by Eran Shaishon, and I have really thought through and tried to map out the massive implications, if you wish, the major disruptions that are happening to the Jewish people, which are long-lasting. I'll just name a few for your audience. First of all, we're seeing a shrinking economic pie. This crisis hit New York City, which is the heart of the financial capabilities of the Jewish people, and it also hit the financial market. So and the implications are also vast across many communities. So the consequence is that the pie of resources will shrink, plus the priorities of philanthropy will also change, and there will probably be a structural shift of money from older money to new money that will emerge as an outcome of this crisis. So all of that together changes the economic foundations of our community. A second major thing that we're looking at is the map of threats to the Jewish people is changing as well. We're seeing a wave of anti-Semitism that builds on the pandemic to attack Jews. But also the better news, or the good news, is that the anti-Israel activities and sentiments are a little bit on the decline. Naturally, the Israel element is now on the back burner. On the good side, we're seeing a dramatic increase in the in the availability of online educational materials. We all know that there is a major crisis in the cost of Jewish education that has been unfolding for decades. Now suddenly, a tremendous amount of material is available for everybody to consume for free or at highly affordable prices, and hopefully that will be a major asset for us moving forward. Another element that is really promising for our people is the fact that now we, as in Israel and the World Wide Web of Jewish communities, through technology, can actually improve the lives of millions and millions of people. The time has come. The platforms are there for us to be able to really bring value.
Right. Giddy, let me ask you about that, because Reut is not just a think tank. You're involved in some practical projects, one of them which was just cited by New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman as exactly the kind of project that he thinks government should be looking to as they sort of refocus their priorities in a post-pandemic world. So talk a little about this, what you call your TOM, your Tikkun Olam makers.
Right. TOM stands for Tikkun Olam Makers. It's an Israeli, Jewish, turned global humanitarian project that was conceived 5 years ago to bring highly affordable solutions to neglected needs of people at the bottom of the pyramid, people living with disabilities, elderly or poor. So TOM is really about the collaboration, global collaboration in design of solutions and manufacturing and distribution of solutions. Now, the relevance to the COVID-19 crisis. Many countries will wake up tomorrow after the crisis and will say to themselves, we cannot be dependent on global supply chains for our most acute needs. We have to revamp. We have to strengthen the muscle of manufacturing, of designing of products locally in our communities, in our societies. And TOM is sort of a window into the future. It allows us to see what can be possible when people collaborate to create solutions locally that can then be scaled nationally and globally. And that aspect of the project actually caught the attention of the New York Times and of Tom Friedman. And at the bottom of this article, the New York Times actually allows me, in a quote, to frame Tom as an essential societal infrastructure for the 21st century. And this is really the promise of the project, because in every community around the world, at the same time, there is abundance and there is scarcity. And Tom allows the abundance of talent, of goodwill, of manufacturing capabilities that exist in every community around the world to flow to address the local needs. And that's the promise of the project that they captured in that article.
Well, hopefully that will be a promise fulfilled in the coming months, or I should say even in years ahead as we emerge from this pandemic crisis. Gidi Greenstein from the Reut Group, thank you for joining us on I-24 News.
Thank you very much for having me.